Hey there, YouTube crew. I'm just hanging out with the Festivus pole here, which has my Moravian star on top of it. And we're just talking about end times prophecies. You know, Americans love end times prophecies. Few others like end times prophecies. Some other religious fundamentalists seem to like end times prophecies. And some of them think that they're instrumental in bringing about the end times, which is kind of adorable, if not creepy, because you know, those people are in positions of governmental power, for example. So there's that. Yeah. End times prophecies. Uh, so many of them on YouTube. So many of them everywhere you go. You can't get away from them if you are on YouTube. So enjoy that. Uh, you know, I should do a breakdown of all the different types of ways we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Here's why. Just buy my online class for $60 and I'll tell you why the end is here. Why say the end is near when the end is here? So yeah, there are some issues, okay? So part of the reason why the US didn't particularly like the Ahmadinejad regime, if you recall, about 15 years ago, Iran had a guy called Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, a former city planner turned prime minister of Iran, who fancied himself the Mahdi. If you're not familiar with what that is, that would be the person who sets the stage for the end days as described in the Quran and related holy Islamic texts. So, of course, it is written in a very opposite fashion to the way Revelation is written, which is on purpose, most likely. Not just a coincidence, it was written oppositionally. So, anyway, we're going to talk space and Earth weather here in a minute, but first, I'm going to rant until my heart's content. So remember, folks, don't forget to get blue light in the morning. It's like a bank every day, and you have to fill the bank, fill the tank, the bank tank, with blue light. If you get enough blue light in your eyes in the morning, you'll sleep better at night. That's just the way it works. So yeah, there's that. All right, so allow me to fix my hairdo here. I know I look like a Joule. It is, while it is kind of late for our stream, it is only 8 o'clock Eastern time. So here's some imagery of the closest star, El Sol, the local yellow dwarf, the sun, and it's pretty calm. It's pretty calm. Do we have any space weather showing up at the moment? I don't think so. We ain't got no big flares. We're going to blast through space weather at a rapid pace. So next we're going to look at SDO. Here is the latest from SDO. We're looking at helioviewer.org, by the way, helioviewer.org. And all right, so there is the latest magnetogram. Let's look at the red light image first. I mean the HMI continuum rather. So there's the photosphere. And quite a number of sunspots there. It looks like we have more sunspots than yesterday. I think we're going to be around 100 sunspots today. Let's break down some more data here to see what's going on with sunspots. Cosmic ray flux remains at a 22-year low. Do we have any new space weather on the way? Well, according to University of Reading, let me just make sure I have that refreshed. Doesn't look like anything new on the way, but we are due to have a coronal hole high-speed stream showing up like today. But it's looking like a weak one according to the modeling there. Let's move on. There was a CME impact that was forecasted, and there it is. There's the CME impact, super obvious, and it showed up exactly when I stated that it would about 3 days ago, early in the day today on the 6th. So it's already subsided a little bit here. The point of greatest deflection was around here, where we had, well, you can see a consistent change in the plasma temperature. So that's this line here, this green line. So that's the impact right there. And we had a little bit of a stronger field there. It went up to 9 nanotesla with a BZ of +4, so not conducive to geomagnetic storms. Since then, things have subsided. It's back down to a quite low-speed solar wind, but still an elevated density. So this looks like a coronal hole high-speed stream and a CME showing up at the same time, as we see this density spike up to 10 protons per cubic centimeter, about a 5 times increase from yesterday. That solar wind is measured well outside of the Earth's magnetosphere out here at Lagrangian point 1. It's a gravitational equilibrium point around which the ACE and Discover spacecraft orbit. NOAA's forecast for space weather continues to show geomagnetic unrest until late this afternoon. So if the fields suddenly change from that coronal hole high-speed stream, we may see some geomagnetic unrest, but I sort of doubt it. It's looking pretty weak at the moment. Here's a quick 4-hour video of Earth's magnetosphere. It's the Geospace Magnetosphere movie. You can link to this in the Space Weather Prediction Center pages. A great visual depiction of what Earth's magnetosphere likely looks like. This is derived from a bunch of different measurements. You can read all about it under the Details tab, which explains the data. You can even download the data used in the space weather modeling framework. So the radial flux has come up a little bit here. Radial flux now up to about 147 solar flux units, or SFU. Solar flux units are simply 10,000 Jansky of radial flux. It's a radial flux density measurement. And here is the sunspot number according to the King's Observatory, Royal Observatory, Belgium. So sunspot number here actually did come down from yesterday. Sunspot number now at, what is that, 84, 85 sunspots? 85 sunspots, we'll say. If there are any new CMEs, they should show up in the coronagraph. It's eclipse season for the GOES 19. There is a CME there right at the end, so that looks like there may be a stealth coronal mass ejection here. Let's take a look at stereo A and see if indeed there is some new space weather headed this way. So it could be far side. Let's have a look. It's the stereo A Core 2 space weather beacon. And that one looks like it will miss Earth to the south. So that is a recent CME there. It's a pretty solid one. It is on the Earth side of the disk, but I don't think it has an earthly component. It is too far south. Earth would be off in this orientation from stereo A's perspective. And this is where planets are located, since we're orienting ourselves. That's where things are on today, the 6th March 2026. No solar energetic particle events. The proton flux is flatlined, and the X-ray flux is at background flux of about a B7. Solar activity is low. Here is the latest for the heliosphere as Earth approaches another North Pole magnetic sector. So we got about 2 days yet to cross this current sheet and cross this current sheet into the North Pole sector. South Pole sector governed by South Pole oriented coronal holes, of course. Here's yesterday plus today line of sight coronal hole plot. Our B field depicted in blue. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to press that subscribe button, press the like button, leave us a comment, tell your friends and foes about the channel, as frankly, YouTube does a pathetic job getting our content onto people's screens. I know, right? It makes no sense. The channel is monetized, so you would think YouTube would be incentivized to play ads. You know, you'd think YouTube would want to show the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content to those who are interested in space weather. Wouldn't that be nice? There are certainly lots of people interested in space weather, as hundreds of thousands of people watch videos about it every day. It's just a question of where are they watching it and why are they watching it on such silly channels? Which brings me back to end times prophecies. There's a lot of doom talk nonsense. And I would remind you, viewers, that our finest days lie ahead. And doomsday prophets, they just lie. Usually for cash and power. Sometimes for chicks. But cash, power, and chicks, I mean, it's an industry. Like YouTube is an industry of grifting. And why isn't Europe so enamored with all the doomsday talk? The reason is because European civilizations are much more stable, dating back thousands of years. And I think that's part of the reason why Americans tend to be so fatalistic. They think, oh no, it's something there's going to be a global cataclysm that's going to happen right now because I'm here and I'm very special. Mommy told me so. Or something. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, press subscribe. Otherwise, you won't see the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content delivered right to your YouTube subscription feed. And if that sounds stilted, it was on purpose. Let's look at El Taide's ground-based magnetogram here to see how these sunspots have evolved, but they've probably devolved. What the heck? It says stop, but one image loaded successfully. Let's try Cerro Tololo. Cerro Tololo, 68 images. There you go. And really not a lot of evolution here with these sunspots. There is some action on this group over here. You can see some magnetic field activity changing there. So that's something to watch, but don't expect large flares, folks, because it's just not in the cards. We don't have the kind of magnetic shear complexity. We don't have what you'd call beta, gamma, delta class sunspots. Pardon the autofocus here, folks. I know that's out of control. If I put my hand in the foreground, it might stop that. Freaking autofocus. It's AI powered. It almost even functions. So there you go. Like this sunspot group over here, this looks like it has evolved a little bit. So if you look at the last image, you can see a bunch of, please click. You can see a bunch of new umbrae here south of this. So this is going to be the most likely spot for large flares in the coming day or two. But beyond that, things are looking mostly stable here. So as this gets closer and closer to the limb, this is going to become more likely to flare. It is growing in complexity and approaching the limb, so the likelihood of large flares will go up with that. Cerro, we're going to stick with Cerro Tololo, located in the Atacama Desert, up in the high mountains of the Andes, in the country of Chile. And there are the hydrogen alpha images from Cerro Tololo. I would remind you that these dark absorption features that you see on the Earth side of the disk are the same type of features as these prominences. These are solar filaments just like these, but of course you're looking at a two-dimensional image of a three-dimensional object. So they appear as absorption features, hence darker on the Earth side. When they're hanging off the edge, they appear bright because it's looking at hydrogen. These are chemically complex, so there's more hydrogen here than there is in empty space. This also does show the chromosphere. You can see this bright line. That's the chromosphere layer right there. It's very thin, a transitional region between the photosphere where sunspots occur and the solar corona. Make sure you follow us on X, otherwise known to sane people as Twitter, a busted brand. As you may see exclusive stuff there that you don't see anyplace else. Check out the homepage in the description. You'll find that the homepage is right there, smashomash.com. You'll find you'll find a Discord channel there and so on if you ever want to send an instant message and say, hey, there's a tsunami warning that's been raised or something. But don't tell me another YouTube channel has forecasted an earthquake or a tsunami, because they definitely don't know how to do that. If humans could forecast earthquakes and tsunamis, guess what we would do? Can anybody guess what we would do if we could forecast earthquakes and tsunamis? Just real quick in the chat. Tell us what we would do if we were able to forecast accurately earthquakes and tsunamis. Steak and cheese says, not just Americans, ask Europe. Yeah, I don't hear any end times nonsense coming out of Europe. I hear it coming from religious fundamentalists. Are there a lot of those in Europe? I think there are less than in the US, no? Anyway, electron flux here getting back to higher levels. So that's what you can expect, as there is some space weather coming in. A CME, a co-interactive region, is striking right now. So there's a coronal hole and a coronal mass ejection showing up at Earth at once. So GPS performance will drop today. As a result of that, we will have a little injection of electrons, starting with the outer Van Allen belts. And that's coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere, electrodynamics, total electron content forecast. Come on, folks, you can say it. Rolls right off the tongue. The coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere, electrodynamics, total electron content forecast. You can say it. It's a tongue and brain twister. Talks about layers. The likelihood of large radio blackouts is not really there because, like I said, no sunspots are all that magnetically complex. We don't see any beta gamma delta class sunspots, but we do see some beta gamma class, just not beta delta gamma class or beta gamma delta class. They're just beta gamma class. So that's better than just beta class, which is better than just alpha class if you're hoping for flares. And this channel is hoping for flares and CMEs, because we're not spooked of space weather and we're not spooked of all the end times prophecies, and you don't gotta listen to Pill's Bandy Doughboy anymore. Shout out to SwearNet, Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles. Fuck off, Cyrus. I got work to do. All right, so here is the ionospheric layers. We're just showing this because we're going to transition into Earth weather, which happens down here below the D region, where it's mostly neutral particles. Above, at the D region and above, that's the ionosphere. That's where it's mostly charged particles, known as ions. Anyway, here's a view of the ionosphere. We'll also show the anomalygram. Let me just load that up here. Give me a moment. All right. So we're going to see an increase in activity in the ionosphere here because, well, space weather has arrived. So we'll see a little worse GPS performance. You'll see some sudden variations happening there in the ionosphere. That's what happens when space weather arrives. The F layer is located at, well, about 300 kilometers of altitude at nighttime, and from about 150 kilometers to about 450 kilometers in the daytime. So that's 1 day at 2 hours per second. Global ionosonde from Australian Government Bureau Meteorology. And we'll show the anomalygram as well. It depicts anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median, and you'll see some big anomalies on this because space weather. It also does a great job of showing the South Atlantic anomaly, which is out here off the equatorial west coast of South America. And you can see the African anomaly as well near the equatorial coast of Western Africa. Them's the facts. Let's get to Earth weather because sunrise over the Atlantic. Don't you want to see it? Let's drop it down to 40 frames. There's your Atlantic sunrise. Shout out to our viewers from all around the planet. Congratulations once again on realizing the channel exists. We're frankly surprised that you found the video, as we run into trouble finding our own content sometimes. By the way, don't forget to sort your chat so that you click on live chat so all messages are visible. For some reason, the default setting is top chat, which makes no sense. It's a way to put censorship on YouTube comments, which is why Discord or various other socials are a better place to communicate with people. But there's the Atlantic sunrise. Read 'em and weep. By the way, we have a merch shop as well. Did you know there's going to be a 24-hour race in Breiningsville, Pennsylvania this year? Yeah, for the solstice. It'll be on June 20th to 21st from noon to noon, 24 hours of bike racing. Will people like me turn a double century, that's 200 miles, on the Bob Rodale Cycling and Fitness Park? Well, you'll have to stay tuned to find out. Did you know that I enjoy building riders over bikes? Yeah, I've traditionally ridden for a bike shop for decades, actually 2 different bike shops over the many years, dating back to 1999 as a pro cyclist. And I prefer building riders over bikes. So all you coaches out there, you know you prefer building riders over bikes, because building bikes might be fun. It might be a cool mechanical hobby for you and so on, but many of us don't like working on bikes at all. And we prefer working on riders because we have sort of the coaching bug. We want to pass on all the information that we've gained through the many decades of being a competitive cyclist. So many of us prefer building riders over bikes. Even some people that own bike shops prefer coaching to running bike shops. It can be challenging working in the bicycle retail market. So anyway, I prefer building riders over bikes. What about you? Next, the U.S. water vapor map. I can see dry air making its way across New Mexico, as some moisture makes its way across Iowa into Wisconsin and Minnesota. Wisconsin and Minnesota. All right, so yeah, check it out. The dry air here acting like a great blocking feature. There's actually 3 dry air masses all coming together here. Here, gone. It's actually making a 3 on the map, which means it must be the unholy trinity of Satan, portending the final days of your souls. Not just of your lives, but of your souls. Pardon that end times nonsense that I broke into there, folks. Yeah, the end times prophecies. They're all nonsense. And maybe I should do a video breaking down all of the nonsense and how what's going on doesn't purport to the book of Revelation or anything like that. But people will say it anyway because it gets some clicks on YouTube. Clickbait, even more pathetic in 2026 than it was in 2020, as people grasp at reasons why, oh no, it's doomsday, time to get in your bunker, folks, time to get in your bunker, oh, look out, death from above, death from below, death from everywhere you look, it's everything so deadly, so deadly. Anyway, Chicago's about to get some heavy storms. But they're going to mainly brush by to the north and slam right into Madison and Milwaukee. Yes, it's going to be a stormy day on Lake Michigan. Don't be out there on your rowboat. Don't be out on Lake Michigan on your rowboat because it's about to get unfortunate. In fact, the winds are probably already kicking up. We'll take a look at it, but first, the forecast for our local viewers. Shout out to our local cyclists from Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Shout out to the Lehigh Valley Cycling Club crew, the Valley's largest and most ancient cycling club, dating all the way back to, 1952 or something like that? 59, sometime in the 50s. Anyway, today, it's going to be all wet out all day with a high of 45 or so. Tonight, more rain. Saturday, fog. High near 56. It'll probably never dry out all day. Saturday night, more showers and a thunderstorm possible. Sunday, partly sunny, so roads may dry. Dear skateboarders and road cyclists. It's going to be a high near 61. Monday, a high near 65. Tuesday, a high near 69. Please plan accordingly. Keep in mind that's beyond a 3-day forecast, so that could change a lot, but that's not too bad. Let's look at the surface winds. And it's not too windy over Lake Michigan yet. So there are the winds. I mean, up here we've got only 14 mile per hour winds. Superior is actually a little bit windier, but it's pretty calm at the moment. But it's about to change, folks, because of this. Oh, it's available under satellite. Just show the damn radar. So, yeah, there's windy.com. By the way, windy.com has a spectacular mobile app that you may want to check out. Here's a lightning map, and we do have lightning associated with that storm. This is lightningmaps.org. Hey, Rockford, there's thunder rolling in. Rockford. Lightningmaps.org, powered by blitzachtung.org. It could save your you-know-what from sons of bitterns from raining down doom from above in the form of electrical static discharges. Anyway, let's look at a pressure and precipitation forecast. It'll show both frozen and unfrozen precipitation. We'll also show a total positive snow depth change forecast. These will be 72-hour GFS models. Here's the snow forecast. Heavy snow coming to Colorado. No matter how much air cultists blow in Colorado, it's not going to prevent, in some cases, feet of snow. That's your 72-hour GFS positive snow depth change forecast in inches. Here is your precipitation forecast. It shows both rain and frozen precip, as well as mean sea level pressure. So Colorado's going to be the nexus of some snow and then some more snow, while rain hangs around, especially around the Mississippi Valley. It's going to be dreary on the Gulf Coast. But things warming up for the Lehigh Valley starting Sunday. We'll close out the meteorology segment before we show some more solar imagery with surface winds and jet streams around the world. There are your surface winds for the east. Shout out to our viewers from there. There are your jet streams. Shout out to our viewers from the Near East, Africa, and Europe. There are your jet streams. Here are the surface winds of the central world. Surface winds of the Americas depicted here. Shout out to our viewers from the Americas. Shout out to Santa if you're watching from the North Pole. Here are the jet streams. And here is some more solar imagery. We will show the house favorite. We'll also show 195 angstroms, and then we'll close this mother out with 304 angstroms. So here's ionized iron. Give it a minute to load. It's well worth it. Yeah, end times prophecies. They have no place in any kind of sane planning. Because since our finest days lie ahead, the end times don't lie ahead, because that would be doomsday, wouldn't it? So logically thinking things through to their logical conclusion Since our finest days lie ahead, doomsday prophets are fake and are liars. So I believe somebody's holy book tells people to beware of false prophets. There are lots of false prophets. Holy crap, are there a lot of false prophets? There's so much fraud right now. Fraud is at an all-time high. I mean, let's face it. Cult membership and fraud is at an absolutely all-time high. Thanks for the comment, Wendy Kirkland 9917. Here's 195 angstroms. It's good at showing coronal holes, as you can see. These are South Pole oriented coronal holes, meaning the magnetic field lines are oriented toward the sun. These North Pole oriented coronal holes, you can see some down here. These are oriented away from the sun. Open field lines, that's what makes a coronal hole a coronal hole. We watch them migrate across the equator every solar cycle. The coronal holes show us in graphic detail the solar polar field progression and indeed progression of the solar sunspot cycle. So this is where we'll close out. We'll close out with the 304 angstroms wavelength. That's ionized helium. 195 angstroms is ionized iron. So is 171. And yeah, keep an eye on this sunspot. We do have some plasma instability here as well. So we may see a CME pop off there. Remember, folks, you don't need to see solar flares or even sunspots to see coronal mass ejections. Coronal mass ejections happen regularly with no sunspots or solar flares. Don't get the two conflated, folks. Solar flares are X-rays, otherwise known as photons, high-frequency photons, ionizing radiation. That's a completely different thing than a coronal mass ejection, which is matter from the sun's atmosphere blasting off into space. So think of a fan. That's what a coronal mass ejection is like, because it's blowing gas out into the solar system. And think of a solar flare like your dental X-ray, because it's a lot more similar to your dental X-ray than it is like physical material, because X-rays travel at light speed. So there's that. Anyway, it's time to close this thing out. Enjoy today, and don't be prepared for tomorrow to not happen, because these end times prophecies are a bunch of crap. Anyway, I've been your host, Dan, aka Smash-A-Mash. Don't forget to smash that share button. Also, leave a comment if you viewed live or in syndication. Thanks to everybody who has. And we'll see you soon here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And until next time, may that co-interactive region-based solar wind be at your back.